Hey, tennis fans, you are listening to Match Point Canada, the official podcast of Tennis Canada. We're also members of the Tennis Channel Podcast Network. I'm Ben Lewis, joined alongside Mike McIntyre. We are right in the midst of the grass court season. And Mike, I feel like this episode is all about the Biancas. Bianca Andreescu making her first final in 2 years. And you had a chance to speak with Bianca Jolie Fernandez.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, what a great start to the grass court season for Canadians with Bianca Andreescu making the finals, with Gaby Dabrowski capturing a title in Nottingham alongside Erin Routliffe, and with Milos Raonic having a very successful start to his grass court campaign, making the quarterfinals before bowing out to eventual champion Alex de Minaur. So I think all around Canadian tennis fans can feel optimistic for how things have kicked off. And let's start with obviously the fantastic result from Bianca Andreescu in only her second tournament back after missing 9 months of action with a back injury. Did pretty good at the French Open. Now to switch surfaces and on grass, make it all the way to the finals, where unfortunately on her 24th birthday, she wasn't quite able to get that, Cinderella moment of capturing the title. But all things being equal, this is nothing but positive news for her and her fans for sure.
Yeah, fantastic result, as you said, just her second tournament back. And I'm most impressed, I think, with her ability to just change surfaces so quickly and to be able to play this great tennis. And, maybe early on in the draw, she didn't face a major challenge in front, but there was plenty of hype when she was squaring off with Naomi Osaka in a quarterfinals. And you're getting a showdown of two former Grand Slam champions. Obviously, Osaka incredibly successful with four Grand Slam titles to her name, Bianca with the one, all on hard courts. And surprisingly, I mean, this was only the second time they've ever played. Maybe it's not that surprising given the number of injuries Bianca has had. Osaka obviously was off the tour for almost a year as she gave birth to her first child. But, the first time they met was back in China in 2019. That was a compelling three-set match. And I have to say, this one equally lived up to the hype. And you could tell, I was writing down the rankings of these two going in, and it was just so absurd compared to the quality of the match to see
Of course.
228 next to Bianca's name and 125 next to Osaka. Because when you were watching, it felt like a clash of top 10 players. So I think even though BB lost in the final, and we'll talk about the final a bit, I thought she really took a huge step forward, particularly in that three-set win over Osaka.
Yeah, and 65 spots up in the rankings when they come out on Monday as well, I believe. So that's a nice little, pump up for her. Osaka, I mean, the two of them, such heavy hitters, such powerful games. And the fact that we haven't been able to see them at their best for a different, different reasons, a multitude of reasons over the last couple of seasons, but it just shows you what they're capable of. And I think both of them are top 20 players when they're healthy. And I think both of them are going to get back to that level. And hopefully we see them play each other many, many more times, because this one was quite a compelling match. Like it lived up to the hype going into a tiebreak, a third set tiebreak. And when you saw that they were going to face each other, I mean, just absolute mouth-watering matchup to have at that stage of a tournament. And I think positives for both of them. Obviously, a few more positives for Bianca getting all the way to the finals. And we talked to her, what, 3 weeks ago? Not even 4 weeks ago, she was coming back and had her on the podcast. And
Yep.
so much anticipation for her returning to the game, so much hope, and she's aiming high. I mean, she said with us, "Hey, let's go for number one, baby," in terms of what she hopes she can attain. And she's got the kind of game, who knows if she's ever going to get there or not, but she's got the kind of game that can contend with those players in the upper echelon of the sport. And we're seeing that only two events back into her return. And yeah, it's pretty special player. And I'm excited to see what she has coming up next for us.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Match Point Canada. If you'd like to follow along every week, give us a like below. Hit the subscribe button as we're trying to make 15,000 subs. Check out the first episode of Tennis Nation, recapping Canada's historic Davis Cup win from 2022. And I was just excited to see her mix in so much of that variety that she used incredibly well, obviously through the 2019 season, something she does better than a lot of players on tour. Mix in slice, mix in drop shots, keep her opponents on their toes, which
And she
she,
told us that that was one of the things that she wanted to start doing more of
right.
again, right?
And that, I think especially on a surface like the grass where the ball skips, stays really low, to have those types of options at your disposal is massive. So she was trying to work Osaka, get her off balance. This was such an exciting match because Bianca had a chance to serve for it, 5-3 in the third. Osaka makes a charge, hits a pair of huge forehand winners, and suddenly you're in this dramatic third set tiebreak where anything could happen. But that was one thing I really noted, was the variety and her willingness to come to net. Then in the finals, look, Liudmila Samsonova, very worthy champion. This is the fifth title of her career, probably a player that we don't talk about enough, and she's, top 15 in the world.
Yeah, one of
This
the
was,
rising stars in women's tennis really over the last season.
yeah, absolutely. And this was really a back and forth final as well. And Bianca was kind of controlling and dictating play in the first. This is my concern. She had a medical timeout in the second for the back. And you could see her kind of stretching and wiggling and making sure she was okay. I thought her movement stayed strong, but Samsonova has so much power from the back of the court, finished with 36 winners and just got over the line 7-5 in the third. So really, I mean, Bianca was just a few points away from a first title since 2019.
So excited to see what happens next in this grass court swing and beyond. I mean, just wait till she gets on the hard courts, which is really the surface where she's enjoyed by far the most success in her career. So exciting stuff for Bianca fans for sure, and just very happy for her as well. And if we transition to another Bianca, who we had on as our guest this week on the podcast, Bianca Jolie Fernandez. If the name sounds familiar, well, that's because you're very well versed with her older sister, Leylah Fernandez, and what she's accomplished in her career. The two were super tight. We had them on the podcast 2 years ago together after they played doubles together in Monterey, and they were nice enough to join us then following a loss, which is not something that most players do following a match that doesn't go their way. Great to have her on all by herself this time and kind of delve into her first season of college tennis, playing for UCLA, the UCLA Bruins, and talk about what her plans are now for this summer and moving forward. And so, without any further ado, here's my interview with Bianca Jolie Fernandez. Our guest today on Matchpoint Canada just completed her first season of college tennis at UCLA. She's played many ITF tournaments over the past couple of years and appeared in the qualifying draw last summer at the National Bank Open in Montreal. She's appeared on the podcast once before in the only ever Matchpoint Canada sibling interview that we've had. This time, it's just Bianca Jolie Fernandez, and that will be more than enough. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you. I know we've been talking a little bit about when's a good time, and now your college season is finally over. And last time, as I mentioned, that we had you, it was you and Leylah Annie, I believe, in Monterey 2 years ago. Which was that your first WTA experience, I think?
Yes, it was actually.
And the two of you played doubles together, right?
We did. We did.
And so this time we can focus entirely on you. So I hope you're ready to take all the questions yourself this time.
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, good. So tell me, I guess, first and foremost, how was your first season as a Bruin at UCLA, and how things went for you in the college system?
It's my first season. I would definitely say there were some up and downs, but a lot more positive than negative. My first year in playing college tennis was definitely a little tougher. I wasn't used to the new rules, to the different aspects of the game. Like the coaches said, it's a different beast altogether. And they helped me manage it as much as I can, and I'm ready for next year.
For those who aren't as familiar, maybe with college tennis, what makes it so different? Why is it its own sort of beast, as you said, compared to regular tour events?
Well, for starters, you're allowed to play with noise. There will be noise, there will be hecklers, and it's not the same as in the ITF tournaments where a ref will say, please don't talk or whatever.
Yeah. Quiet, please. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no quiet, please. There's just like, don't call you can say whatever you want, just don't call the player by their names. That's the only rule. So there has been some moments where the crowd has been rough. And on top of that, on the court, you're competing against your opponent and their coach. So instead of them switching up their game, let's just say after the first set, you could just be already starting the match and 2 points pass, and the coach will already be on court telling them what to do. So you're already competing against them, and if you're not playing well, yourself as well. So it was definitely tough.
Did you enjoy, like, I guess it goes both ways. You're competing against them and their coach, but you've also got your coach to help you through moments where you wouldn't necessarily have that in a regular ITF match. Did you enjoy
Yeah.
having that sort of accessibility to a coach, or do you prefer doing things and figuring them out, yourself out there competing?
I think this year we spent more time. The coaches allowed me more time to myself to try and figure it out. They don't want to force it upon me and force information on me. And now I see how big of a benefit it is to have them on court. So I did enjoy the few times that they've come in and helped me out. And now next year, I believe I'll be much more accustomed to getting help, even if I don't ask for it.
Right. And what were some of the positive aspects of the tennis experience for you? Did you enjoy having the team environment? Did you have a good group of teammates there with you this year?
I couldn't have asked for a better group of teammates. They're absolutely amazing. They're angels, they're diamonds. They're always supporting each other. They're all, whether it's on or off the court, when it comes to competing or classes, there's always someone willing to help. And even then, there's the company needed where we encourage each other to go to one another during competition. And if you're beside each other, to not be afraid to talk to each other, make each other feel better. So I really enjoyed that team aspect because sometimes you can get down on yourself, and just having a teammate look at you and say, hey, look at me, you're doing good, we're doing good. And then some things can just turn around that way.
No, but that makes a huge difference. When I was looking through some of your Instagram pictures, which, by the way, for our listeners is at Bianca Jolie Tennis, lots of smiles, it seemed like, when there were pictures of you and your crew there.
Yes, definitely. I definitely started smiling a lot more after matches this year. It was, and of course, I have a cameraman that captured all of those moments, so that was very nice.
Off the court, so away from the tennis aspect of the college circuit, what are some of the perks and challenges of just college life itself?
Planning, organizing, and executing. Although
That's a challenge, or that's a perk?
that is a challenge a bit, especially since I've been in online school since the start of middle school. So I kind of had the luxury of being a little behind in school. I had that luxury of just playing tennis, and then late at night I can just get all my assignments done very quickly if I just sat there and did it. But in-person classes was definitely tough for me. I had to really pay attention. It wasn't just reading, I had to listen, making sure I'm on top of my assignments that are due. That's also a challenge because they don't allow second chances. They don't give second chances. So that was fun. But at the same time, the perks of it teaches me how to be more responsible. If I can get all my stuff done on time and everything, I get to have the free time that I want to hang out with my teammates, make friends, go around Westwood because it is a very beautiful little town, so it's very, very nice.
What courses are you studying? Do you have to pick a major or a certain area of study? Like what courses are you following there?
Currently, I'm doing my best to get all of my GEs done. I would love to lean towards a business economics major. Although I'm also looking at a communications major, depending on which one I like the most. But at the moment, just general education classes.
Yeah, good idea, probably till you figure out what certainly, specifically perks or piques your interest. Um, are the profs tough on college athletes, or do you get a little bit of leeway in terms of handing in assignments late, or, if you get a mark on a test that's not quite what you're hoping for, or are they just as tough on you as they are any other student who's not also an athlete at the same time?
I'm not quite sure compared to other schools, but there has been a couple professors that are very tough on us. And I feel like tougher since we are athletes. They don't want to give us they don't want us to think just because we're athletes that we can get away with that. I feel like they want us to hold a higher responsibility and accountability to that. There are some professors that have their goal saying, I want all of my students to pass. If you feel this grade is unfair, I might look to curve or something like that. But most professors have their rules and they follow by their own rules.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought in some ways maybe that it's actually tougher on the athletes because profs are trying to maintain, I guess, the appearance or, of being fair to all the students at the same time. Yeah. You're the number two ranked Canadian, I believe, right now in the US college system, and recently also up into the top 70 of the NCAA rankings. I'm just wondering, what are you looking for in terms of improvements next year? And have you set any goals yet for your second year there?
Well, in terms of tournaments, although it was definitely tough this year, going from a disappointing quarterfinal loss as a team and then waiting around to see if I would get into individuals. My goal is to get into individuals with a very good ranking without having to wait because I'm on edge and I'm an alternate. That is a starting goal. Secondly, I would love to pass 2 or 3 rounds in individuals, not lose in first round. Team wise, we know we have the team and the work ethic to get to quarterfinals. Now it's just about passing that quarterfinals. We want to get to semis and finals. So that would definitely be cool. And on a personal aspect, I just always want to grow on and off the court. So if I can get better grades and a better dynamic on court with the coaches, a better execution, better everything, that's also a very good thing.
I know you and your sister are very, very close, but I'm assuming this year was maybe a little tricky to get a lot of FaceTime in with her traveling the world on the WTA and you playing college tennis. Are you hoping to see more of each other this summer? And was it tough this year being apart more than usual, or has it been like this for a while with her being already busy as a pro and you having your things going on too?
I think the distance wasn't as tough as one would have thought because we're used to it. Leylah always traveled before, and I was always home. So I think the toughest thing was actually to my sister, who's used to coming home and I'm there with open arms. And now that I was at school, she comes home and I'm not there. So I think that was tough for both her and I on that aspect, like knowing that she's home and I'm not there, and knowing that I'm at school. And even during Indian Wells, Leylah's so close and yet so far.
Right.
So that was definitely the tougher part. But the distance itself, we're so used to it, and managing the FaceTime was very easy. It's just the moment she texts me, that's when I know she's alone. So I just call her. Now, to see each other during the summer, yes, we will. This Thursday, I will be traveling to London to go see her and my father.
Nice. Are you going to be sticking around for Wimbledon or just a short visit?
2 weeks, but I don't think I'll be staying for Wimbledon. I've got some tournaments to play if wherever I get into.
You two have such a close relationship. It's so obvious. I mean, even when we had you on the podcast a couple of years ago, you two were like kind of balancing each other out with the questions. And you're doing really good so far without her there to sort of keep your sarcasm in check. I think you're doing a pretty good job of maintaining that at a reasonable level so far.
I'm thinking about my words very carefully.
Yeah, I could tell. It's okay. You don't have to think too hard. But what are some of the pros and cons maybe of having a sibling who's already an established professional tennis player? Maybe it's just all pros. I don't know, but you
The
tell me.
pros, there's many pros. She gave me the opportunity to choose in everything. I got Now I believe that the schools that all when I wanted me is also because of my tennis, but as well, they know how good Leylah is and the fact that I've trained with her and have competed with her. So I feel like that also gave me a slight edge, especially after my gap year. I didn't think that many schools would have been that interested. Now, I don't know if that's the truth, but I believe that is a pro. She also shields me from a lot of comments, a lot of pressure, because all the pressure goes on her. She's the full-fledged pro. I don't have the pressure. She's successful, and I know she doesn't want me to feel pressure. So I choose not to. There aren't no cons. I think the cons is whenever people just assume that I'm unhappy, envious, or something like that, that they question, whether I'm happy for her. That's a con. I think all her hard work has been paying off, and she's at the dream that she's always wanted to be. So that's all I ever hope for her. And, I, even though there's betters that whenever she loses, I get the comments as well,
Oh, is that right?
social media. Yeah. I feel like they try, since we have a close bond, they try to, disrupt, cause a little bit of like turmoil in our brains.
Mm-hmm.
It's laughable, and we both have a chuckle about it. It brings us closer.
Yeah, well, it's good that you have that viewpoint of it, I think, right? Because what else can you do, really?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just delete the comments and go about your day. So those are our pros. There's no cons.
Yeah, yeah. Well, keep your head up. I don't know how tennis players, whether you're playing college tennis or professional tennis, kind of block some of that stuff out sometimes. But I get the vibe from you and Leylah, Annie, that yeah, you both have each other's backs in that respect, and so that must be really nice to have someone else in there too that you can lean on in that respect. I want to ask you about your father, and because today is Father's Day as we record this, sounds like he's overseas with your sister right now. I guess, but maybe you snuck in a quick FaceTime or something today.
Yeah.
But just the role that he's played with you and how maybe it was different for you this year having other coaches aside from him as your day in, day out, first contact point for your development.
I think this year was definitely a bit of an experiment. We wanted to see how I would react with less interaction, him being less hands-on into the court, giving me space, learning to accept other coaches because I have a history of not accepting other coaches.
Because your dad was like the main voice always, is that?
I'm very stubborn. So the slight difference between Leylah and I is like she was able to go with the flow, understand, and learn and grab whatever she could grab from other coaches, and then still learn from my dad. While I was very much, my dad says this, my dad says that, and I will not change for anyone. And that was something that I had to adapt this year. And I think my dad purposely stepped away in a way to give me that opportunity so then I don't hide behind him in a way, So that was this year was a year of experiments, of me discovering what it feels like to be coached by someone and accepting and being more open and learning to be more open. Excuse me. So next year now, this summer, next year, he'll be more into the picture. And now I'm able to listen to both the coaches at the school and at him without much problem anymore.
Yeah, right on. What is the plan this summer then for your tournaments now that does college start back up in September, or how does that work out?
So this summer, I'll definitely look to play some ITF women's, depending on which tournaments. But while my sister is in Europe, I will be in Europe around her. I will be close enough. Once she goes to Canada, I might go to Canada with her and play some Canadian tournaments. It depends on whether I'm doing good or not, or if I want to spend time with my mom here at home. Now, for college tennis, it does start back up the very first week of at least UCLA. The very first week of school, we will be in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, to play, I don't know which tournament it is, but I believe the All-American tournament, singles tournament. And right away, singles will start.
Right back into it. Yeah, well, I know Canadian tennis fans and fans of yours will hope to be able to get to see you this summer at some of the tournaments around here. Last summer, you had a qualifying wild card to the National Bank Open in Montreal, where you faced a solid pro in Lesia Tsurenko. I mean, there's no avoiding it. You're going to play someone tough when you get there. What was that? What was that experience like? And are you hoping that things might work out to play qualies this summer in Toronto?
Every year I'm always hoping to be able to play the pre-qualies to get that opportunity. Last year, it was definitely an eye-opener, that there's always an extra level. There's always another gear I can push myself in. If I believe that I've hit my top, then there's no way that I could be a pro. And now I'm understanding that all pros, the reason why they're pros is because they're willing to push for more. And Lesia has shown me that. She showed me that. She pushed a little bit extra. She ran for a ball a little bit extra, accelerated a little extra, and she showed me that those little things made the difference in all of the points that she's won against mine. She showed me what a full-fledged professional is like and what a rookie that just got in played like. So it was definitely a learning moment for me.
Yeah, right on. And are you hoping after the college experience that, the professional, avenue is what presents itself for you in terms of a career path?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Well, look, to finish off, my co-host Ben couldn't be here for this interview, but he loves doing rapid fire with the guests when he gets them. So I'm like, Ben, if you're listening, which I'm assuming he's going to, I'm doing this for you, buddy. If you're up for it, a few rapid fire questions, just first thing that pops into your mind.
All right, I'll do my best.
All right, here we go. I'll start with some easy stuff, okay? Favorite shot to hit?
Forehand line.
Favorite surface?
Hard.
Day match or night match?
Day.
Least favorite training drill
Uh,
or training activity?
Controlled movements.
Okay.
I just like movements, not controlled.
What's the most annoying habit an opponent can have on the court? Like a pet peeve, something
Ooh,
your opponent might do.
Won't disclose it. I don't want people to know.
Okay, because they might do that all the time. Yeah.
College.
For me, it's when the opponent starts catching their service ball like repeatedly, and you just want to keep going.
Yeah.
Now my opponents are going to know that, but yeah, it's not going to make any difference for me. Favorite food,
Aguatita.
and for those who aren't familiar with that, like myself, if you could, yeah.
That's a Peruvian dish. It's peanut butter sauce with tripe.
Okay, I'll have to try that sometime. Toppings you put on your pizza.
Pepperoni, ham. Then the rest my sister picks. I'll just eat
Okay,
the rest.
got it. Favorite tennis player growing up.
Okay, that starts with Serena Williams. There's Camila Giorgi, Kim Clijsters. Those are the top three out of my head.
Okay, right on. Camila Giorgi, interesting.
Yeah.
National Bank Open champ from just a couple of years ago too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite slam.
US Open.
Okay. And my last one, what's the thing you miss most about being up here in Canada?
Ice skating.
Oh, nice. Are you good? Are you a proficient ice skater?
No, the last time I remember I was outside with my sister and we weren't actually at an ice rink where it's indoors or there were bathrooms nearby, but I do remember I was very young and I needed to go to the bathroom. But I was holding it because my sister wanted to learn how to stop. That's how this is her all the time, whether it's tennis or outside. She wanted to learn how to stop, and it creates snow that's like splashes, that kind. And my dad was trying to teach her, and she was trying, and she wasn't doing it, and she was trying and trying, and I'm just there, like saying, "I gotta go," and I'd be going in circles. And finally, when the hockey players were going to come in for their practice, that's when she finally got it. And then we all ran to find a bathroom for me. So that was the last.
I could totally see her staying out there until she mastered it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a Fernandez trait. So, and we love that about both of you. Bianca Jolie, thank you so much for taking the time. It was great to have you for your first ever solo installment on Matchpoint Canada. I hope
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And I hope the first of many. So please come on back and keep us updated on how things are going in year 2 at UCLA.
Okay.
And hopefully we see you this summer.
Okay. Have a good evening.
You too.
There you have it, Mike's conversation with Canadian Bianca Jolie Fernandez. I do love the contrast in personalities compared to our chats with Leylah.
They're so different. They're
They are
so
quite
different.
different. You can hear it in their tone, and I like how she's kind of a sassy straight shooter, I would say. I love listening to her answers, and I think my favorite part of the interview actually is when you discussed pros and cons of having a sister who's, you know, a top professional athlete, and she really only had pros to list, and you could tell how impactful Leylah has been for her, not just as a sister, but maybe a guiding force as she tries to embark on a tennis career, having that support. And I think both of them really pick each other up. And Leylah in the past has spoken about the impact Bianca has had on her and kept her positive in lower moments. So that was really cool to hear. And you know, the one con she sort of gave is the impression maybe other people would have that she would ever be envious of Leylah, and it's the complete opposite. So I thought that was really special.
Yeah, and I don't think that vibe, like I don't think anyone really should be getting that vibe because whenever
Not at
I've seen
all.
them together or speak about each other, it's been nothing but positive and supportive. They've got a wonderful sibling dynamic. And it is funny, the first time I spoke with her, with Bianca, I don't know why I was expecting more of like a Leylah 2.0, but as is the case often with siblings, I think of my own brother and sister. I think of my three kids and how they're very different. Of course, you know, they're different, and each sibling tries to carve out their own path, and yet it works so well together as a dynamic. I mean, Leylah Annie always used to tell us that the player she most wanted to play doubles with was always going to be her sister, and she meant that genuinely. And I'm sure we'll see that pairing again sometime soon. Very exciting to see what she does with her career. You know, great that she's doing the college route right now and getting some school. There's some academics as well, which she opened up about. But another young, talented Canadian. I mean, she's within the top 1,000 in the rankings, eight something right now, and that's without really even playing hardly
Yeah.
very many ITF events now that she's gone the college route. But hopefully gets that ranking up a little bit this summer. Hopefully we see her on the Canadian hardcourt swing in cities around Quebec and Ontario and out west, and maybe at the National Bank Open as well.
Yeah, I was going to say it would be great to see her, even if like there's a pre-qualifying at the National Bank Open, get a chance to watch her again. Because the one time I did get to watch her play, she had a 3-set showdown with Marina Stakusic, and 6-4 in the third. I remember Marino won the match. That was a few years ago, and look how far Stakusic has obviously come. So you
Seriously.
never know what might happen. I think Bianca is very talented, and for her to like open up about a few of the struggles and adapting to the college route, and you know, playing the player and the coach, sometimes it is a completely different environment. You can tell I think she's really gotten used to it, and is now maybe starting to thrive a little bit more.
It seems like she knows herself really well. She knows what her hurdles and her obstacles are in terms of her stubbornness. And she was pretty open about how it was, yeah, a little bit of a challenge to hear other voices in terms of coaching her when she'd had her dad for so long in her corner. But it also sounds like, you know, between then they've got a good plan because he purposefully stepped back this year and said, okay, you've got to go and sort of develop and listen to other people. And I like that as well. And also wanted to say, hopefully you were happy that I threw in the rapid fire questions. That was a
That's
tribute to you.
I
And
appreciate that.
I don't know if I would ever eat tripe in peanut butter sauce, but
Oh
apparently
God.
that's her favorite food. So there you go, something for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a first and a last on Match Point Canada for
Right,
sure.
right.
Um, Great interview. If we continue on, because it was a big Canadian week, Gaby Dabrowski returning after an injury layoff, and we know she essentially missed the clay court season and swing with Erin Routliffe. They get back together this week for their first tournament in a couple months. Just like that, immediate success, which was awesome to see, winning their first ever grass court title together, first time they've ever played grass together at the Nottingham Open. Really dramatic final, by the way. Very, very dramatic final. They lost the first set 7-5, rally back, get control of the second, win at 6-3. And in the super tiebreak, they were up 8-6. Suddenly they're down 9-8, facing championship point, rally back, win it 11-9. So what a return. And I think that's a quick reminder. This team is a threat to win at any time, and they're going to be a major contender at Wimbledon.
Yeah, when we had Erin on the podcast a couple of months ago, I mean, she kind of joked with both of us that they'd never played a clay court tournament together. They still haven't played a clay court tournament
Yeah.
together, unfortunately, due to Gabby's injury, but that they also hadn't played on the grass. And look at that, like you said, doesn't matter if the surface. Obviously, this partnership just gels no matter what. And you know, it kind of says something to maybe players who are, struggling, you're in a rut, maybe sometimes just a little bit time away from the sport, and obviously in Gaby's situation and Bianca Andreescu's situation, it was not by choice, it was because of injury, but both of them coming back and having like immediate success is really interesting. I think it speaks to, perhaps what you miss about the sport when you're gone for so long and how hungry you are to get back out there. And I don't know, Ben, maybe also you forget some of your bad habits over time and you come back out and it's almost like a clean slate and you don't have any of those sort of ticks or things that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. So great for Gaby and Erin. I spoke with Erin shortly after the final and she was just like, yeah, and that was our first grass court event together ever. Like, can you believe it?
Hmm.
And they're going to be a threat at Wimbledon. Of course they are. Gaby made the finals back in 2019,
Yep.
the semifinals, I believe, in 2018 as well. So yeah, it's just great to see what these two can do. And you see all the pictures, you watch them together on the court. There's so much positivity. Just talk about the right kind of personalities meshing together and forming a partnership that it's not just the tennis, it's the fact that they really click with each other as well.
And how incredible is this? I don't know her ranking when you first spoke to her, Mike, but as of Monday, Erin Routliffe has moved to a career high of number 2 in doubles. That's
Unreal.
that's astounding. I mean, I feel like she was outside the top 30 maybe the very first time you touched base with her. And now number
Yeah,
2 in the world, Elise Mertens number 1, and Gaby Dabrowski will move a spot up to number 6.
incredible. And yeah, I think we spoke to Erin like about a year ago, maybe,
Yeah.
and she was just outside the top 30, which was a career high for her at that point in time. But wow, number 2 in the world. It's pretty special stuff.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Just to touch on a little bit of singles at the Nottingham Open, Katie Boulter winning the title. A lot of eyes on Emma Raducanu, who largely missed a bunch of the clay court swing, missed the French Open. She played some great tennis. I think grass is one of her best surfaces. Made the semifinals before losing to Boulter in 3 sets. Now, a story people are talking about. Raducanu was offered a wild card to compete at the Summer Olympics and declined. Some people were weighing in on this. Is this a decision that Emma could come to regret because you don't always get those opportunities? Or is this more of the case of we don't have ranking points at the Olympics? It's on clay, which she already sort of bypassed. Maybe it isn't the worst decision to skip it this year.
Well, I've got a third proposal here for a possible explanation. Maybe it's
Okay.
because deep down she really wants to play for Canada since she's born here in Toronto,
Hmm.
and obviously that it couldn't happen anyways. I think we spoke with Erin Routliffe a while ago, and she said that she couldn't play for Canada even if she wanted to either because she's already
Yeah.
represented New Zealand. Same with Raducanu, but we can dream, right? Um, but I think, look, when it comes to the press over in the UK and how they handle Emma Raducanu, like. I speak on Talksport Radio fairly regularly, and I know you've done some work for them as well. And man, they talk about like what's going on with Emma, and I'm like, wow, I think everyone over there just needs to chill out and give her a break. What is she like, 21 years old, and she's already a slam champion? Give
Yeah.
her time to, grow into her professional career. And so I would say, yeah, if there's no ranking points at the Olympics, given where her ranking is right now, and the fact that she wants to move back up towards, the top 50, top 75, what have you, it makes all the sense in the world that she's going to go and play some tournaments and some tournaments where maybe a lot of those big players won't be there because they'll be competing in the Olympics. So even more of an opportunity for her to get that ranking up there. She's also going to have, you would think, hopefully, many more opportunities to play in the Olympic Games. So probably something where she thinks this won't be the only chance I get.
Yeah, and I really do think the surface might have something to do with it. I mean, if she already worked with her team and decided clay isn't the right fit this season, why would you maybe go back and play the Summer Olympics on clay? I mean, you already chose
Absolutely.
not to play it. So I feel like that's playing a role as well. She's jumping 44 spots to 165 in the rankings, and she's actually just 2 behind Bianca Andreescu, who, as you mentioned, jumping 65 spots. So getting back on track, and if she's healthy and playing a series of tournaments, I'm sure she'll be back in the top 100 this year. I have no doubt about it. Back inside the top 150, by the way, Rebecca Marino, who reached the round of 16, came through qualies and was playing a good tournament in Nottingham as well. I feel like grass should be her best surface, honestly.
Oh, for sure, with that big serve and that aggressive style of play. Yeah, and you think back to like more so maybe when we were younger, but you had court specialists, right? You had
Yeah.
names like Sam Querrey And I mean, players who like Goran Ivanisevic, like, I mean, he did well on other surfaces as well, indoor for sure with that serve. But
Yeah.
some players on grass that just they just kill it. It's just suited to their game and their strengths and what they bring to the table. And yeah, Rebecca's definitely one of those players. I mean, I feel like we got a few Canadians that fall into that category. And I don't know if you want to transition over to the men's side just for a moment too, but Milos Raonic and what he did this week at Hertogenbosch, making the quarterfinals. And let's not forget, like, Milos is 33 years old.
Hmm.
It kind of reminds me of the wheelbarrow scene in Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail when that person is like, I'm not dead yet, and like he's still got time to do things.
Yeah.
And he's going to be super dangerous on that surface if he's healthy. And he seems to be healthy. And this is the first tournament where he's been able to get through it this season, 2024, without a withdrawal or a retirement mid-match. So that is very positive. And the fact that he's backing it up with another tournament this week in at Queen's Club, I believe it is,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then that also speaks to the fact that, hey, he's ready to keep going even after playing a few matches. So, I put Milos into that dark horse category at Wimbledon, not to win the thing, but to potentially get into the fourth round or maybe quarters even, depending on his draw and how he's feeling.
Absolutely. I have key Hertogenbosch news, by the way. I heard from a source that everybody over there refers to it as Den Bosch.
Oh, come on, I can't. Really? I just
Yes,
learned
and
how to pronounce Rothagenbosch after
and
all these years.
this happened last year too. We were like struggling over the name so much, particularly you, I
No,
will
I was
say.
struggling. Yeah, that's right. I was struggling.
Yeah. Apparently everybody, all the Dutch, they just say Den Bosch. So we've been wasting our time, especially you, Mike. Reading back, reading,
I
working on that
just, I
pronunciation before
just,
the episode started.
I could spell it too, now, which is also
I
impressive,
know.
I think.
I know. Well, anyway, now we know for next time. But one match that I love that Raonic got through in this event particularly because it was such a battle of veterans and Roberto Bautista Agut, he's one of my favorite kind of older guys on the tour, 36 years old. He's had his share of injuries the past couple of years. So to see the two of them push each other in a round of 16 match and clearly want it so much, Raonic came through that one 7-5 in the third
After
before
dropping the first set.
after dropping the first 6-4. And Bautista Agut, by the way, he's very good on grass as well. He made the semifinals in
Mhm.
2019 in Wimbledon, so it's his surface as well. So that was a compelling matchup of the huge serve versus the grinding counter puncher. Milos comes through and his body held together. Falls to Alex de Minaur, as you said. De Minaur winning the title. And I was looking at some of his stats. I mean, 33 wins now on the season, which is third most on the tour. He's up to a career high ranking of number 7 with this result. And yeah, I just look back to what he did at Toronto last summer, and I have to say, like, who's been a hotter player than Alex de Minaur dating back to last summer, outside of our slam champions like a Sinner Alcaraz and those types of guys.
Yeah, he's backed it up really well since Toronto. It's been very consistent. It's not just punching into the top 10 and being satisfied with that, but wanting to keep going. He's mentioned so many times, and he said this last year in Toronto, pretty much in every post-match press conference, that he was trying to prove people wrong who
Hmm.
said that he couldn't, that he didn't have the game, or he didn't have the size, or he didn't have the power, or whatever it was. And I think we've both said before, to his defense, I don't think I've ever doubted in what he's capable of doing. But this is a great story. He's so fun to watch too, because every
Yeah.
point that guy is just hustling and never giving up. And I mean, he reminds me a little bit of Michael Chang in terms of his court coverage and his speed out there and his athleticism. So yeah, I mean, if Milos and a Canadian's going to lose to anybody, you want to see that it's the eventual tournament champion, and it doesn't hurt when it's a nice guy too. So him and Milos are in the same half, actually, I think this week at Queen's Club. So
Okay.
maybe there could be a rematch there. I mean, Milos is already playing up twice this year. I think they met at the Aussie Open earlier this season as well.
Yep.
Um, but I just gotta say, like, this grass court tennis, just absolutely love it. And I'm writing an article right now for Tennis Canada on how special it is and just the childhood memories for me. And it's just so unique because it's such a short season.
Hmm.
There's only 3 weeks before the peak, which is Wimbledon, really, and then it's over. And so you got to enjoy it while it's here. But it's a heck of a lot of fun, and I'm gonna make it my mission in 2024 to step onto a grass court and actually have a hit, which I've never been able to do before.
Yeah, I've never been able to do that either. I'd love the opportunity. Obviously, love the opportunity to go to Wimbledon. Something I think myself and a lot of other tennis media members would vouch for is the need for a Masters 1000, a WTA 1000 on this surface. I feel like it'll come, give it a handful of years, but there's no reason why we shouldn't have the peak caliber outside of the major as a 1000 event on the grass courts. Just a side note, Stuttgart Open, Jack Draper actually winning the first title of his career there. And Matteo Berrettini, who I really feel for him because he's battled so many injuries the past year and a half. He's a former Wimbledon finalist. He got to the finals and beat Denis Shapovalov along the way in straight sets. Matteo is so good on this surface. He's an all-surface player, but I think he's most dangerous on grass, if you want to call him a specialist there. I think with him healthy and in the mix, he's going to be one of the guys maybe to watch at the All England Club as well.
Yeah, someone that nobody's going to want to face early on in that draw for sure. And if we just look at some of the upcoming grass court tournaments this week and Canadians and how they're placed, but Leylah Annie's in Birmingham as the 6th seed. She's going to be joined there by her sister, Bianca Jolie, who's going to support her and get some time with her sister and her dad. Milos, as I mentioned, gets, I think, Cam Norrie at Queen's Club. And Felix Auger-Aliassime is the 8th seed in Halle.
Yeah, and Felix, look, he's played some great tennis on the grass before. He's made a couple finals. I believe, if I'm not wrong, did he not record a win over Roger Federer
I
at
think so
Halle?
too.
Yeah,
I think so
I
too.
think that was his first win over Fed, and we know he's beaten all of the big three. Is that right?
Novak?
He beat
I don't know.
Novak. Yeah, he beat Novak at the Laver Cup.
Where's our fact checker? That's what this podcast needs. We need someone in the background that can just answer these questions and pipe them into our ear, as we're recording.
Yeah, I know. And
Anyhow, we got 2 or 3 more grass court episodes coming up, so we can get to that in the next one.
It's true. I'm quite certain he's beaten the big three. He beat Rafa at the ATP finals one year as well. So there you go. Excited to watch him on the grass. As you said, couple more weeks on the surface to come before Wimbledon. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Matchpoint Canada. We will talk to you next time.